Good evening, good evening, good evening. Come into the Jaye Spot, replacing your G Spot every Thursday from 6 to 7, giving you real relationship talk, real relationship drama with the best night of your life. Your host, Jay and Simply E, hold on, get ready to enter the Jaye Spot on IntellectualRadio.com.
Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to the best night of your life. Woo! You have entered the Jaye Spot on IntellectualRadio.com and iHeartStation. I'm your host, Jay, and this bubbling beauty right here to my left, my co-host, my partner in crime, Simply E. Hey, girl.
Hey, boo thing.
How are you?
Wonderful.
You are glowing. Ooh, I can't. You know, you guys, I hate secrets, so please, it's going to just take everything. I'm going to try not to sit over here and bust from excitement, but I am really excited tonight. But I want to thank you all for joining us again for another episode of the Jaye Spot on IntellectualRadio.com and iHeartStation. This episode is being brought to you by State Farm, Darren Tillis' office. Darren's office is located 3830 West on Roosevelt. That's in Chicago. Contact Darren for your auto, home, life, and insurance needs. Darren's number is 773-826-0766. Again, Darren's number is 773-826-0766. Use reference code J, Jaye. Also, you all, we have a huge event coming up next week. E, tell them about the event next week.
It is the Singles Mingle Masquerade Affair, so we will be out there maybe in some cat suits. Ooh. Looking like the devil herself.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
with some heels, I think some stilettos for somebody. We are going to be on 39th and Giles next Saturday at 8 p.m. sharp. The event is from 8 to 1. You can purchase your tickets on Eventbrite. Look for the Jaye Spot.
Yep.
The Jaye Spot on Eventbrite. Look at our fan page on the Jaye Spot on Facebook, and then we also have an event page for it, the Jaye Spot Masquerades. Well, the Jaye Spot and Ames High Productions Masquerades Affair. It's a singles mingle. So the tickets are $25. The food is going to be Jamaican jerk. I'm doing the catering, so it's going to be delicious.
Yes,
and it's going to be a lot of sexy females and a lot of handsome men. So get ready and come on out.
Come on out to Single and Masquerade and Mingle. Now, you all listen, do not come out and hold the wall up, okay? Please come out and be prepared to mingle and have fun. I'm not saying, you may even find a cuddle buddy or two, because I definitely need somebody that's strong enough to push a wheelchair, because I am definitely on the sick and shut-in list on today.
We'll pray for it.
Yeah, please do. I need a nurse, an usher, and everything else. Please raise an offering for me while you're at it. But you guys, please go to our Facebook fan page and like our fan page at the Jaye Spot. Also follow us on Twitter at Jaye Spot, and also follow us on Instagram at the Jaye Spot Radio. And Jay is spelled Jaye for all three. And also, you guys, on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. right here on IntellectualRadio.com and iHeartStation, check out Industry in the Streets Radio, where I get a chance to do some behind-the-scene work producing with Dex Millions, Zaina P., Jay Rice, Eb Reed. So that's a pretty good show. So you guys definitely be sure to check them out Tuesdays at 7 p.m. right here on IntellectualRadio.com and iHeartStation. We rock, and so do you. So we are going to recap last week. Last week we did single, pregnant, and dating. Now, that was pretty interesting. I think the concept alone, and I think I need to repeat it just so it can connect: single, pregnant, and you're dating all at the same time.
I think there's nothing wrong with it.
And why not?
Because pregnant women need love too.
But they got love. That's how come
they can date. I don't think that they should, have sex now. That's a whole nother thing. But I think you should date if you want to date. And if you are open and honest with him and telling him that, listen, I'm pregnant, So that way he knows up front. I don't think you should keep that a secret and stuff from him. But I think they should date.
So now, how do you think a man would feel just hearing that, especially if he's attracted to the woman and then he finds out like, bam, I'm expecting,
I think, I've heard some men say that, well, they're a man and they can handle, that's nothing. But then I've heard some guys say that, they couldn't date a pregnant woman. They would just rather wait until she had the baby and stuff, and then they could date her because I guess they would want to have sex too, and then they just couldn't have sex with a pregnant woman.
Right.
So it's a toss up.
And I think, and that's understandable. But do you know that some men target only pregnant women to date pregnant women? There's actually a website, there is a dating website specifically designed for men to date pregnant women. When I saw that site, I nearly hit the floor.
It's gonna be booming now. The number's gonna go up now.
Right. I mean, I'm not gonna give the information, but there's definitely a site out there, and I don't know, but just thinking about that, if you are just only in some of the comments on the site, I probably wouldn't put myself in a position to even meet any of these guys because it's kind of sickening. I only deal with pregnant women and the such and such. I'm like, oh, well, wait a minute. Do you really want to put yourself and your unborn child in a compromising situation like that?
I mean, if they're with them, sometimes they may be with them for monetary reasons and stuff. The men may be on that site to have a pregnant, lady they can take care of, and they're looking for a sugar daddy.
This is true, but a sugar daddy with a poked out belly? Well,
stranger things have happened.
Let me see how that would work out. But I thought about it, and what if a woman just admitted to the man, sort of like the caller that we had? Listen, I'm pregnant, but I got pregnant because I just wanted to have a baby. Mm-hmm. I don't care who's I'm at the point where I want a baby. I don't have a stable partner, but I want a baby. Mm-hmm. And now I'm on the market to date. Do you think that should be a problem, an issue for me?
I mean, if you told them up front, then no. If they don't, if they don't want to deal with it, they don't have to deal with it. But if I'm one, I tell everybody up front, period.
Right.
So if I keep it a secret, then I'm wrong for keeping a secret. Right. And you see my belly getting bigger and bigger, and you ask me what's going on, I'm just gaining weight.
Right. Right.
No, I don't think they should do that. But you should be honest and tell them up front. And if they say they can't handle with it, oh, heck well, get another one.
Now, what did you think about the caller from last week where she was willing to steal the man's sperm?
No, that's theft. There's nothing that serious. I don't want nobody's sperm, just because you're that desperate to get a baby and everything else. No, it's not that serious. There's so many bums out here you can grab and get your little sperm from and everything else, or pay for it.
And I thought about it afterwards, like he doesn't know, like besides the criminal charges that this lady could possibly face from doing something like that. What if she tried to bring him up to court for child support?
It was a post.
How do you prove that? Like how?
Because the sperm, if she takes him for child support, he would have to pay child support.
And that's so unfortunate because it's like, okay, you stole my sperm.
Well, you should have skeeted in that rubber. It took that rubber with you.
And that's why I say, teach your boys. I know I have a teenage son, and maybe it's not the right thing to tell him, but I definitely tell him how to properly dispose of it if and when he comes to that point. You need to know how to properly dispose of it. And the caller, unfortunately, from last week definitely helped seal the deal. This is something that you need to let them be aware of. Listen, carry your own Listerine. Make sure she flossing and spit it out. Whatever your method is, I just need to make sure that there's nothing in the cavities before you leave.
That's what the post was. It was a woman who had a one-night stand, and she had fellatio on the man, and she held the sperm. And so when he left, she had put the sperm inside of her, and she got pregnant and took him to child support court and got child support. And so the question was she right or wrong? And should she be able to get child support? Yeah, she should, because unfortunately, she's pregnant by you. Now, you should have never let her do that or whatever. If it was going to be a one-night stand, you should have just protected yourself way a lot better than that. I'm going
to have to side with the fellas. That's her baby, because I'm with you. You got yourself pregnant, but again, fellas, listen, watch who see, that's what I'm saying. Everything that glitter ain't gold. So stop all these one-night stands, all this quick horizontal mambo, and get a chance to know what you're dealing with, so you will be able to identify if you're dealing with a sperm stiller or a pretend swallower or whatever it is. That may have been wrong to say, but I'll say it again. A pretend swallower. You'll know who you're dealing with. But that was a recap from last week. This week we are going to I know, right? Pretend swallower. You guys don't try to steal my saying. Pretend swallower. Make sure they swallow. Just make sure it's all clear. But we're gonna switch gears, and tonight we are going to talk about dealing with depression. If you all have dealt with depression or know anyone that has dealt with depression before, I want you all to please call in tonight with us. Call in. Our number is 708-223-8953. Again, our number is 708-223-8953. Call in and either share your story or give some advice on how you help someone through dealing with depression. You're listening to IntellectualRadio.com and iHeart Station, the Jaye Spot. We will take a short musical break and we'll return. I got you. On the blocks of Broadway, so Wall Street and busy hallways. I got you. I got you. Through poverty and pain, baby, you know I got you. Ain't no shame. On the blocks of Broadway, to Wall Street and pissing hallways, I got you. I got you. And I'll be alive. I never could. No, I love you. My dream. As you are. Yes, I'm born. But get too far. Said I lay my life down on the line. Down on the line. And baby, thanks. I dropped down to my knees for you. Cause got hold of me. Welcome back to the Jaye Spot on IntellectualRadio.com. I'm your host, Jay. This ray of sunshine to the left of me, my co-host, partner in crime, Simply E. Hey.
Hey, boo thing.
Oh, I like your lip gloss. We do what we can to keep our lips sparkling and glossy because we want you guys to come out to our Singles Mingles event.
Yes. Give them. Our Singles Mingles event is a Singles Mingles Masquerade Affair. It's going to be October 29th, next Saturday, 39th and Giles at the Bronzeville Community Clubhouse. Tickets are on Eventbrite for $25. We will have cuddle buddy applications there as well, and a photographer. So if you see someone that you want to cuddle with, and you don't have to be in a relationship with them, but you can always cuddle because it is getting cold in Chicago. So come on out next Saturday. We'll have some wonderful food, some nice games, and some wonderful drinks as well, and some sexy, sexy singles from Chicago.
Yes, and most importantly, just come out and just have a good time. Don't come fixated on, because sometimes we as women, okay, well, I know I wasn't the only person that feel like this, that you just have to, find somebody. That used to be me a long time ago. But just come out and enjoy yourself. Look forward to mingling. If you meet somebody, that's great. If you don't, at least come to have a good time. Now, sitting right next to we have Miss Erica Baker. How you doing today, Erica?
I am all right, and thank you so much for inviting me to the show.
Not a problem. Thank you for joining us. Erica, tell everybody about yourself and what it is that you do.
Oh, wow. So my name is Erica Baker. I'm actually originally born from the west side of Chicago. Mm-hmm. My occupation right now is a few different things. I actually am a lab technician for Quest Diagnostics. I'm a side sale consultant actually for FES, which is Financial Education Services.
Absolutely.
I help people repair and rebuild their credit restoration. And then I also partner with my brother and my sister-in-law. We have a cigar smoke shop that's actually located in Dalton. It's at 15033 South on Woodlawn Avenue. And come out. It's called Stick Cigars. We're actually on Facebook, so if you can like our page, come out and share your support.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you, Erica. Now, right next to Erica, we have Mr. Michael Woods. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Oh, I love. Nice. Wait a minute. I was not expecting the voice.
Nice. Yeah.
How you doing? My name is Michael Woods. I'm better known as comedian Big Mike.
Oh, Big Mike. You guys, I need to be prepped. I'm gonna have to do a better job of prepping beforehand. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing good. How about you? Yeah.
Mike, tell everybody about yourself, what it is that you do, and how they can get in contact with you.
Well, like I said, comedian Big Mike. I've been doing comedy for about 15 years. I've been on tour with the best of them: Steve Harvey, Cat Williams, everybody of that nature. I actually do a monthly or every month show. Just recently had one, and I'm got one coming up pretty soon. So, and you can always find me on Facebook, Michael Woods or Big Mike Comedian.
Now, have you ever sang like with Boys to Men or anything like that? I mean, that baby's voice is just throwing me through a loop over here, and I just absolutely love it.
No, I never did that before.
Yeah.
I just thought of that.
That is a dresser.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Okay, so you all, we are going to switch gears and get into this topic tonight. It's a kind of heavy topic tonight. We're talking about dealing with depression. Now, feeling down from time to time is a normal part of life. But when emotions such as hopelessness and despair take part, that's when things can kind of take a turn. When these feelings just won't go away. You're feeling down for a couple of days, some things happening in life. But once you get to the point where you feel like you just cannot shake it, you cannot get out of that funk, that may be a sign of depression. Now, depression is a common and serious medical condition that negatively affects how you feel, the way you think, and how you act. It causes feelings of sadness and or loss of interest in activities that you once enjoyed doing. Now, according to an online search, about 13 million people of all ages experience symptoms of depression at some point in their life. Now, let me ask you all this. Have any of you all ever experienced depression or know anyone that has personally experienced depression? We'll start with you, Michael.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I've actually been in a relationship before where a young woman, was the lady I was dealing with, was fighting depression. I didn't know at the time, but it was a hard task. It was a real hard do it because I got to know her and I was really, really getting into her, and the sparks just started flying. So if I had heads up, then I'm quite sure I would have dealt with it better than the way I did.
How did you find out that she was battling with depression?
She started an argument and threw a salsa at me for no reason.
Oh.
It wasn't even dinner time, to be honest with you. It was just a salsa. But for real, seriously, she just went off, and I didn't know what was going on. I was asking her, what's going on with you? She was like, nothing. I was like, it's something. You just threw a salsa at me. And I actually left, and she called me back, and I think I was at our parents' house, and they was, that's how I found out they filled me in on what was going on. So it's like I said, if she'd have told me from the beginning, I wouldn't know how to deal with it. So I just basically told her it wasn't for me at this moment, and I left. And I don't eat off sauces anymore. Just
so after the salsa, after the salsa incident, that was it.
Yeah, I don't eat off sauces. I don't talk to women that have sauces in their houses. I don't.
No sauce.
No, I don't do that.
I bring your coffee in my hand.
What about you, Erica? Have you ever dealt with depression yourself, or do you know anyone that has dealt with depression?
Yeah, so I think I'm under the national, and this is a statistic, but it's actually, I think it's kind of true. I'm under the African American Sister Act, I guess. So, and what that means is we have so many problems and so many different things and barriers that we face every day that we've actually been fools to think that we don't have time to be depressed. Like, we have that kind of like bounce back momentum where you're dealing with some things, but, or, some things are coming your way, but still. So, yeah, but every day, not necessarily the depression, but I've worked with so many different people in the mental field. So I do know that depression does affect people in so many different ways. But I can truly say that as far as like problems on an everyday basis, we somehow just have to find a way to get through them, and most of us kind of rely on God. It goes back to your culture. We believe, trust God.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, what about you, E? Do you know anyone that has dealt with depression, or have you dealt with depression?
I had to think about it because I done had me a few relationships, so I haven't been with a couple of people who has on medication. So let me think. You know what? Yes. I have dealt with someone who was depressed. It was more so that because they lost a loved one. So it took a lot out of them for like 6 months. They just stayed closed up in their room. They didn't come out. They ate maybe, but that was about it. As far as being entertaining with other people or engaging with other people, they didn't do that. They just stayed secluded into their room. So it was a really tough time because you want to be there for that person and everything, but to see them going through that, and then when you really care about a person like that, it's really hard on you. So you just kind of got to bite the bullet and be strong enough for both of you. And what about you?
Now, I personally, have, and not knowing and recognizing the signs, kind of to piggyback what Michael was saying, it's hard because you would think that this person is angry, or they're just, I just summed it up as they were crazy. But afterwards, you kind of realize, oh, well, you know what? It was some, it was some problems there. And if you don't know the signs, then you will just chalk it up to that person being crazy. But this person, all the signs, a lot of the signs was there. The hopelessness, nothing ever went right for this person. Every conversation, it was something negative. It's like the sun shined for everybody else but this particular person. And I'm just like, okay, do you ever have a happy moment? I mean, like, can you find something to be thankful for? No. I'm like, well, you woke up. What's so good about that? When somebody says something like that, that's a sign that something is not right and that maybe they should look into getting some help. So if you guys know anybody that's suffering from depression, because depression, as the more research that I've done on this, depression can a lot of times lead to suicide. Now, suicide, especially with teens. So I want to kind of just bridge a lot of this together because it's a lot of information, but it's really important. Now, I look, according to an online search, about 13% of Americans take antidepressants. Okay, and out of that percentage, 25% of them are women in their 40s and in their 50s. So we're taught to, as African American women, a lot of times, to piggyback on what you said, Erica, to just take all this stuff in and kind of like deal with it. So you deal with your stuff, you deal with your children's stuff, your spouse's stuff, your family stuff, all this stuff. But if we don't take the time to just woosah and get ourselves together, then we can fall. And as the statistics state, we fall victim to this depression because we're taking on everybody else's stuff. But also with the teens, I wanted to talk about the teenagers. They are dealing with so much. If you have teenagers, talk to them. It is so much pressure out there for these teens today. So I just feel so bad for them. It's so much with social media. You got everything. They're trying to keep up. Life is moving so fast. I mean, to be a teen now is so different than what it was to be a teen 20, 30 years ago.
Sure. You know what? I don't think it's really any different. Only difference that we have is social media, but the same type of stuff that you dealt with 20, 30 years ago, you do deal with now. And I think it was harder dealing with it then because you had, even when it comes to the teenagers and those that were homosexual and stuff then, everything was in the closet then. They couldn't even be themselves because if you were a certain type of way or if you were too soft or whatever, then everybody shunned you down or already started picking on you and beating on you and everything else. Whereas now, if you are dealing with homosexuality, if that is who you are and that's your preference, you can come out the closet with, you can be accepted with, everybody will throw a parade for you, everybody will love you and be joyous with you and everything else. So I think that now, with certain issues, it's easier to deal with now, and then we have more resources that now than we did then. And then if you talk to your children, they'll be more prone to talk to you and tell you what's going on, and not start at a later age in life, but start at a younger age in life with talking to them about whatever it is. Don't be afraid to talk to them, and they won't be afraid to talk to you.
Absolutely. So what are some suggestions? Do you guys have any suggestions on how to open the lines of communication and bridge that gap between children and their parents, or children and an adult that they can kind of trust to talk to? Do you have any suggestions, Erica, on how?
Well, so I do have a teenager. So let me say that. So my daughter's actually 19, and 19 years ain't been fun. I will say that. So as a single mom and having a daughter that's 19, number one, she was in her first year of college. That was a struggle because, when I had my daughter, this might be TMI, too much information, but my daughter was almost 11 pounds. So she grew under her own type of depression of being a big girl. Growing up through, public school wasn't easy for her. But once again, as an African-American mom, I had to now put that barrier on my young daughter and teach her how to cope. It's a systematic thing sometimes. Like, my mom has this thing where, what are you crying for? I'm like, because, that's what it is. But when you're looking at how teenagers and stuff, and it's somewhat the same, but then it's still somewhat different. So, when you think about how when we grew up, we did have a lot of the same things. And like she was speaking back, like with, I can't say the LH, I can't think of how you say the community, but like with the lesbian gay community. So a lot of barriers and stuff have been pulled down, but then at the same time, you want to think about order. Like even when you have children, there has to be some type of order. There has to be some type of moderation, and it has to definitely be some trust and respect. So there's a lot of different things to go with stuff, but the minute you start taking pieces out of the potion or out of the things that you need, then it kind of erupts. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, like she's 19, she's not perfect, but I'm 37. I'm not perfect, so I have to think about how I was, and then I have to bring that along with what she could be now, so, I try to be there for her, but we're not friends. I am your mom, you will respect me. Like I do set goals and stuff out for myself just as well as for you. I live by guidelines. So it's so many different stresses and pressures, but you just want them to know that you can, you will, and I'm here. Like that's my thing. Like, I've always told my daughter, look, I'm gonna walk this walk with you. I'm on the side of you, I'm on behind you, but at the end of the day, it's still her walk. Like I have to, we deal with our own individual things every day. So yeah, this depression thing, it can get it can get deep. And I do want to say for all the listeners right now, we don't want to offend anyone. If you are dealing with some issues right now, we, hope that something that will be said will actually help you. And, because it gets deeper sometimes for some people, deeper than it was for you. Some things I beat already, but somebody's just not going to face it tomorrow. You know what I mean? So I just, like I say, being I was a teenage mom, and now I have a teenage daughter. So yeah, I was depressed. You know what I mean? But at the time I was upset or I was uninformed. So it goes into a lot of different things. You just want to make sure that, you know, you're not in this world alone. So let me not take the step, but you're not in this world alone. And you want to make sure that you're supporting the people that you're around, because we will all have dark moments, period. You know, but you want to make sure that it's some light on the other side. So try to find as much light in your life as possible, because you're going to have some dark days. That's just it. So I don't know.
Good. Now, Michael, do you have any suggestions on how to bridge and open that door and that lines of communication between teens and their parents, or teens and some adult that they can trust to talk to if they are dealing with some type of issues?
Well, yeah, I'm not into the pacification part of it. I think everybody is being teenagers. The parents are being pacified, and I think that's a big problem in our community. And the second thing that goes along with that is that we're conditioned. We're conditioned as if you remember, around holidays, everyone would gather together, and you see the uncles with the nephews, the nieces, and with the nephews, first thing they would do, come here, boy, I'm gonna hit you, make you tough and hard. That's been going on in our community for years. And physically violence is teaching our children, you know, punching them, hitting them, that why do our Black children have to be hard all the time? Why they can't be caring, soft, and nurturing at the same time? Because what you're made of is what you're going to be. So to distinguish the difference between someone sick, lashing out, anger, being upset all the time, these are signs. Even on a biblical standpoint, you know, it's always a sign to what you're getting. Even in relationships, whether you want to see the sign or not, but that woman really letting you know that she's not the right woman for you. That guy's letting you know he's not the right guy for you. But if you ignore it, then what do you expect in the long run? Even with depression is a thing that it hasn't been talked about in the Black community. It's been pushed under the rug. So, and it's a big thing. So you must talk to your children and find out what's going on with them mentally. Pacifying them, I'm not in agreement with that.
Okay, and I just want to clarify for me, what do you mean by pacify? Give me an example of what type of things are being pacified, because I'm sure a lot of people may be doing it and not even realize that they're pacifying their children and pacifying the situation.
Well, okay, my daughter lives with me. And her attitude is terrible. It's terrible. And she just recently moved with me. So now everything reflects upon, when your children walk out that door, they're a reflection of you. So therefore, when they down the street cussing and going all off and all this, then that comes from the home point. So if you saying that that's not you, but you can't control what they do, then you're not investigating what your child is doing. So it comes down to pacifying. When I mean, her mother has been pacifying her because her attitude wouldn't be the way it is now. So I have to deal with this, and I have to talk to her and let her know that, hey, you know what you're doing, your attitude determines your destination in life. If you continue to act this way, you're going to lose out on everything, especially blessings. So then that wasn't working. And I constantly tried to talk to her. That wasn't working. So I went 1987. I whooped her.
1987.
And I ain't really had any problems since then. So we has an open door policy. We can talk or we can whoop. We can whoop or we can talk. You have the choice.
Gotcha.
And that's just how I get out of it.
Good point, Michael. Good point. Eve, what about you? How do you open the lines of communication, or how do you suggest opening the lines of communication between the teens and their parents?
I mean, like I say earlier, you have to talk to your children, and you can't start out. And if you do start out being a teenager, and you didn't talk to them earlier, they're going to have a little bit of a resentment, and it's going to be a little struggle because this is something strange to them.
Right.
They're not used to talking to you. They're used to either you reprimanding them, or they're used to you being their friend. They're not used to you actually being their parent and trying to really figure out what's going on with them. So you really have to, one, come down to their level. You can't stand over a child and then talk down to them. They're not going to be receptive to what you're saying to them, period. So if you come down to their level, eye to eye level, and literally have an open talk, and then tell them things that you have probably dealt with in your past. whether it be good or whether it be bad. If they're going through something, if you sense that maybe it's something that is at school or whatever, and you may feel that they have been bullied or whatever, they're being rejected by someone at school, then you know your child. You know what your child is going through.
Right.
So you talk to your child and give your own example to your child so they can feel that they can relate to you.
Okay, and you all definitely have some good points. Do we have
the speaker? Oh, caller, what's your name?
Okay. So we don't speak.
I know. You're not saying nothing.
Ask again.
Caller, what's your name? Yeah. Hi, caller, what's your name? You're on the Jaye Spot.
This is Sharon. I'd like to say hello, everyone, and I do appreciate the topic that you all are discussing. So I'm listening live from my living room, and I would just like to comment on the subject of depression. Speaking upon depression, we want to speak, basically have different classifications of depression. You have medical depression, people who are suffering from such as like post-traumatic syndrome. And then you have depression that can be dealt with more so from a cultural perspective. And what I mean by that is from such as like the Black community. Okay, we as people, we have been suffering from depression from a cultural aspect due to the oppressions of what has been inflicted upon Black people. And some of those oppressions have actually fed into our household, how we parent our children, how we discipline our children. I would say the perfect antidote to depression to deal with that is love. Being patient with our children, providing them a foundation built upon love, so therefore they can deal with peer pressure and they will know how to handle peer pressure because they have been taught in the home from a foundation of love. Now, from a medical standpoint, that's something a little different that will require more than my expertise. Someone maybe who has the credentials such as, dealing with that from a psychological standpoint. But as far as with the cultural aspect of dealing with depression, from a relationship, things of that nature, the perfect antidote with dealing with depression and to also help people who are dealing with that depression at that moment, it is love, patience, and someone who can provide them support. Being able to talk to that person and get to the root of the problem, and also supporting that person and giving them and telling them, hey, you got to love yourself first in order to be even supportive with another being. So I just wanted to just comment and go a little bit deeper and talk about depression, because depression can be classified in many different aspects, from a medical standpoint, from a culturalistic standpoint.
Thank you so much, caller.
Thank you so much, Sharon. We really appreciate it. And I just I should have probably started with this disclaimer that I'm not a therapist or a counselor, but this is a serious issue, and I definitely wanted to help shed some light on this issue. So if you or anyone you know suffers from depression or thoughts of suicide, please call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255. Again, that number is 800-273-8255. This is a very, very serious matter. And when you think of all of the violence that's going on in our communities, that right there is enough for our kids to have something within, just being honest, real talk, be afraid of. Our Black boys are getting shot down every single day, a lot without reason. How do you comfort them? How do you keep them calm? How do you keep them from slipping into a state of depression when we're dealing with what we have going on every single day? How do you give them light at the end of the tunnel?
But like the caller said, it stems down to love, and you have to, as a parent, or even if you don't have any children, and you see those children out there and you can look in their eyes and tell that nobody loves them, you have to be that one to reach out your hand and tell that child that you care about that child, regardless of what they're going through. Because at least they know that somebody cares about them. They'll make better choices and they'll consider themselves. If no one loves you, you can't even consider yourself as a factor, period, because you don't feel the love, period. So you can't even love yourself because no one else is giving you any type of love. Love, I think, is you see it as an example. If someone is showing you love, then that's an example to you. So that teaches you on how to love yourself. So you most definitely have to start out with loving someone. I remember I had a roommate, and she was bipolar, and she had a lot of things going on, and I didn't know it. So that was the problem. Everybody else knew it except me. And so she stayed with me, and it was issues going on. I wouldn't get my mail. If the landlord had came and asked for me or whatever, I didn't get any of that information. If my mom called the house, I didn't get my phone calls. And so I'm asking her, what's going on with you? And she wouldn't tell me anything. And one night when I came home, people were telling me, you need to get her up out of your house. She's crazy, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, why is everybody telling me either they're going to pray for me or I need to get you up out of my house? And she still wouldn't tell me what's going on. And so she pushed me, and we wound up getting into an altercation, and she got removed out of my house that night. But when I went through her medicine, I went through her bags, and then I found medicine. And when I found this medicine, I'm like, what is all of this stuff? I didn't know any of this. And I took it to my school, and my instructor was like, this is for mental health. And unfortunately, if I would have known that early on, I would have handled the situation completely different. But I guess her telling other people, then they have judged her a certain way. They have already labeled her as crazy or psychotic or whatever. They didn't give her a chance. So why should she give me a chance as far as letting me know what's going on with her? And instead of giving me that chance, she acted out, and I responded to the acting out.
So. A lot of times I think that's because that's just what they know how to do. But what do you all think? What causes depression, in your opinion? What causes depression? Michael, what causes depression in your opinion?
Well, the first thing is a couple of common reasons, but I'll just elaborate on one real quick. Hereditary, number one. And you see, this is another thing, and it goes back to choosing who you deal with. All right. You can deal with, have you ever met a young man or a young woman who mother and father gave them everything they ever wanted? They was always fortunate, told them how much they cared about them, loved them. Then you seen them 5 years, 10 years later, they was either on drugs, messed up mentally. The bloodline didn't mix. You see what I'm saying, with that man and that woman. So certain things you have to investigate, even if you have to go to the grandmothers, the parties, the invitations to dinner and something, you have to start getting to the root of the person that you're dealing with. The second thing is peer pressure is something real serious. And it triggers, if the teens feel like they're not into the in crowd, or they're not getting what they're just due, the parents can't afford this at this time, this at that time, that can be depressing to them. Why I ain't never had nothing? Why I don't have what the other kids have? You know what I'm saying? But if you remember when we were coming up, I can't say, you look like you're about 18, 17, and 16. But last but not least, if you growing up, the best times of our lives is when we were young, we were children. And everybody said, well, you didn't have no bills. Okay, we didn't have that responsibility at the time, but our parents had bills, and they loved us unconditionally and showed us. So you have to start looking at the signs. And I hate to be redundant, but it's such a dynamic thing right now. And even in the depression, your children, your family members, your mothers, your aunties, your cousins, everybody are not happy. And it's the reason why everyone's not happy. And what you need to do is understand and look for these signs. Take time out. It probably only take you about a minute or 5. But everybody shows you a sign of what they're about, what they're going through, and which way they're headed.
Erica, what about you? What do you think, in your opinion, what causes depression?
Well, I know just different life experiences, different things that people actually go through and encounter on an individual basis. That goes for children, teenagers, adults, women, men, and it goes back and targets back on culture, because even as a group, we suffer from different, depressions altogether. But, when I really think about it, like we was talking about the depressions and how he was just speaking on, he was saying something about the children, like when we're raising our children and we're depositing certain things in them. And that's what I always tell people, and even in relationships, like whatever you deposit, when you go to the bank, you can only take that out. Like I was listening to Simply made a statement, going back to what she said earlier too, about how talking down at your child. I was a single parent and I only had one daughter, and at some point it was almost like I was forcing things out for her, like and it wasn't fair to her, which led to her having extra stress, just because now I'm one, so it gets so deep sometimes, like, how the caller called in and she was talking about, with the different sides of, the medical aspect and then just the everyday life. The medical aspect, I'm working up north right now towards Wilson. And there are so many, and I just want people to understand this, there are so many medicated people right now. Yeah. And we also have to keep in mind, like, that's what he was saying. Mike was speaking about how when you come up with your family, like, I was very fortunate, but there are a lot of unfortunates. We've never been rich, but at the same time, we were taught, and certain things were deposited into us early. So we had the love and the understanding and the phone call away and the I'm on my way. So that kind of helped us to the point where we are right now. I was telling my brother just last night, I was like, we still see our childhood friends. Someone's probably watching right now. Like, we literally had a good upbringing. When you look at the children today, Ray don't know Joe Twine, and he trying to take him out. You don't even know him. You never even seen him up until today. So it's so many disconnections in the world, and I think that's where it comes from. When you talk about the connections, it does start at home, but then look at the people that really never even had a home. So like she was speaking about, never had that love. We have so many people that have been wards of the state, so many people that have been abused in so many different ways. So they have different cope mechanisms than me. Like, I can have a glass of wine and be okay, get up and go to work. Mm-hmm. I'm at it again. Somebody else can't move, like you were saying, they're in that spot. So I think the biggest thing is just about support and being able to, I came up with this thing a long time ago, and to sum it all up, like, love for me is finding a way to understand the next person. They're not where you are. They might not be where you're going. But at the end of the day, when you love a person, you have to find a way to understand to the point where it doesn't hurt you and affect your lifestyle. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you're not pushing harm and other things off on other people. And I think that's the biggest thing. We need to learn our place. And at the same time, don't forget what place you're in. If you see something and you can help, then that's your responsibility as a person. We fell back in so many ways of just surviving, taking care of me. And this is not your world. It's a big world. So you help as much as you can instead of hurting. So I don't know.
You guys definitely brought up some good points, Erica and Michael. Eve, what, in your opinion, what causes depression?
Well, you have all sorts of things that causes depression. I mean, you got molestation in your childhood. You got neglect and stuff in your childhood. You got, even if you were given too much, in your childhood and stuff, that could make you depressed because you never know how to handle things. You've never been without. And so not being without, and when someone tells you no, you don't know what to do because you've never been told no before. Now you're an adult. Somebody tells you can't have. What you mean? I've gotten everything else. What you mean I can't have? And sometimes that'll cause you to go a little, loopy a little bit. But we have to also understand that if I'm depressed, then there is no timeline, But I'm the type of person that if I may be depressed on one day and then I snap myself out of it. Come on, I got stuff I got to handle. Mm-hmm. But others may not be like that. Some people may be depressed, and it may be depression for a long period of time. Everybody's different. And so you have to figure out, can I deal with this person? Can I be this person's friend? Can I be this person's lover? Can I really be in this person's life? Can I handle this test that God has put on me? What's the saying that God will put on you no more than what you can handle? Mm-hmm. And sometimes you deal with a depressed person, and then you have to think about it like, okay, what God, I didn't sign up for this. I can't deal with this, and I didn't cause. You may think you didn't cause that person's depression. Mm-hmm. But sometimes you have to look at yourself and say, dang, when I met this person, they was doing pretty good. And now that they're with me, they have seemed to be hitting rock bottom, locked themselves up, not participating with anything, well, you can't put the finger on them. You might have to look at yourself and say, what did I do? And it may be either you catered to that person too much or you didn't give enough to that person. So you really, it's like a thin ice, you really got to be mindful on how you walk with this person or whatever. So as far as when it comes to what causes the depression, it's so many factors. It's not just one thing. And unfortunately, us as Black people, we have so many factors that causes depression. I mean, some people will say, well, you have to get over slavery. You can't get over slavery because we still act the way that things that happened in slavery. Father was pulled from the family unit, and now father is not pulled physically. Well, he's not pulled, he walks away, but it's in him, or mother being so loose. Well, in the slave cabins, the master ran all up in and out of her. So it's in her, and then that forms a depression. And now she's just a kind of like a nut, like beloved, you just gone. So it's so many factors, but you have to look and see if you can really handle that factor with this person or even yourself.
And you all brought up some really, really good points. And I wanted to add a few more to those because the holidays are coming up. People tend to get depressed around Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. The suicide rates, depression, all that goes up.
Mm-hmm. They better come down to the masquerade affair.
Right, because of the holidays.
Yeah.
So you guys, just a tip, if you stop thinking about, let me just run through the rest of them. Holidays, and then your relationship status, and these are all tie into them. Wishing you were in a relationship, or if you're in a bad relationship, wishing that you were not in that relationship. And then the last one I came up with was desire for parenthood. At a certain point, if a person has not had children, and it's like everybody around them has children, those things can cause people to sink into a depression because you're looking on the outside of somebody else's life, thinking that their life, or it's just, if only I had this, if only I were in this situation, that your life would be much better. Mm-hmm. But the reality is your life and where you are is where you're supposed to be. Focus on that. Don't focus on what you don't have. For the holidays, if you're single, surviving Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's, be thankful. That's what it's about. Somebody did not make it. Right. A lot of somebodies did not make it. If that's not reason enough, go to Lower Wacker Drive. Go to a homeless shelter.
Go up to Wilson.
Go up north.
Yes.
Just go up under the expressways. Yes. When you come back, if that doesn't give you a brand new outlook and just give you the slightest reason to be thankful or to just appreciate where you are, let me give you this number. Call 1-800-273-8255. That's the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Because with so much going on, you really don't have time to focus on all the negative. Redirect that energy into something positive. Redirect it. Help somebody. It's like if you don't have kids, go to an adoption center. Go to the foster care agencies. It's so many other, and not saying that that's necessarily for everybody, but I'm just trying to throw out some ideals where for people that just focus on what they don't have, I'm just trying to throw out an alternative to what you're thinking that you don't have. Let me show you how to kind of think of it in another way. That may not necessarily work for you. It's just a suggestion. But if you take your mind off of what you don't have and put that into helping somebody else, before you know it, that thing that you were dealing with or you didn't have, watch it just automatically turn around just by default because you're no longer focusing on it. If you don't like Thanksgiving, make it up. celebrate Valentine's Day. I don't know, go to the beach. I mean, do something that will get your mind off of the holidays if that's not something that you're into. But again, instead of focusing on that particular day, think about the sentiments. Think about what it really means. If you wish that you were in a relationship, call an abusive hotline.
If you wish you was in a relationship, date yourself.
Right, and then talk to somebody that's in a relationship that's trying to get out of a relationship that they're stuck in. So you will find out, listen, maybe the grass ain't always green on the other side.
Or do a group, let's do a group movie thing. You don't always have to be with someone. You came in the world by yourself. When you leave out, you're going to leave out by yourself. So it's okay to be alone.
Well, you guys, again, we have been talking about depression, and this is definitely a very serious issue. So again, if you or someone you know is battling with depression, please call the the Suicide Prevention Hotline, 800-273-8255. We want to thank Michael Woods and Erica Baker for joining us on tonight. You guys have been listening to the
Jaye Spot on IntellectualRadio.com and iHeartStation.
Peace.
Thank you.
Peace.
Thank you for hitting the Jaye Spot on IntellectualRadio.com.